This is Darren McCarty, four-time Stanley Cup champion, Detroit Red Wings, Lemieux killer, Stanley Cup winning goal guy. You're listening to SportsRadioDetroit.com.
Spinning the wheels.
Welcome back to Spinning the Wheels after a long summer break here on Sports Radio Detroit. I'm Jason Pinkham. I'm happy to be back. I'm hype as hell. I'm here today with the franchise Steve Height and Goalieman Justin Freeburn, and we're here today to discuss what exactly we thought it would be, a garbage offseason here in Detroit. So pardon me for speaking out of turn on that one, but that's exactly what it was. Do you guys agree? And how was your guys' summers? Don't everybody speak at once.
I agree. I agree 100%. This offseason has been atrocious. We got Kenny Holland playing hardball with one of your team's best talents. And anyways, other than that, the summer's been not too bad. It's been hot here. Global warming exists. Yada, yada, yada.
Well, that's good to hear. How about you, Steve?
I've been doing pretty good. It's excited to get back to talking about hockey and, generally shitting on any opinions of any Red Wings fans that think there's any hope for this team in the next 3 to 5 years.
But they signed Trevor Daley, franchise.
Yeah, and Trevor Daley's 72?
Yeah, well, I mean, his number's 83, so we can kind of round up.
Close enough, right?
83, by the way. What kind of number is that? Why are you picking 83?
That is ugly.
It is.
Yeah, I saw it on the jersey. It did not look good.
It is not pretty. It is much akin to looking at this team on capfriendly.com. If you guys want to have a little fun here, Steve and I are already on it. Justin, feel free. Listener, go ahead and go check out capfriendly.com/teams/Red Wings. And if you understand how the cap system works, you will hurt inside. You will see current predicted cap space is negative $3 million. So your Red Wings, a team that has a star-studded cast featuring 20-goal scorer Henrik Zetterberg and 20 penalty minute getter Justin Abdelkader, is currently $3 million over cap. They make more money than any team in the league, and they won't win 40 games. I don't understand it. I don't want to understand it. And let's talk about the biggest story of this summer, and I think it's the perfect place to start. I want to see where you guys think. Andreas Athanasiou, the guy we harped on all year for being excellent, all year for excelling above and beyond his pay grade and above and beyond the minutes they were giving him, is still not a member of this team. Justin, you had a lot to say about it. You mentioned you knew the specifics of his offer from the KHL, and you actually had a little bit of insight that I actually agreed with, which was, and I'll let you elaborate, what you were basically saying, that he has such a high offer from the KHL that if he wanted to take that offer, you think he would have by now? Go into that.
Okay, so everything I've seen, and I'm sure you guys have seen it too, but everything I'm seeing is that the Red Wings have an offer of 2 years at 3.8 for him. I want to say. I think that was the latest one I saw a couple days ago from Bob McKenzie's Twitter. And he also said that he's got a one year $3 million deal from I don't remember what team it is, because let's be fair, the KHL is pretty much irrelevant. But if the disparity in the yearly salary is that high, and he really wanted to go to the KHL, I'm pretty sure he would have deuced right by now. I don't think he wants to play there, and I think he'd rather play here.
Here's the important question, and the one I want you to answer. What do you ultimately think he'll actually do? I mean, you're looking at you're looking at a 1.9 per year offer from Detroit, and you're saying he's getting offered basically 3 per year from, drunk McVodka in Russia?
Yeah, 3 3 for 1 year there, but I mean, let's be fair, Russia isn't exactly a tourist destination. I don't think he wants to play there. That's the point. I mean, if he wanted to play there, I think he would have. I think it's all just he's trying to leverage himself right now. So maybe KH comes back at him with like 2.5.
Okay.
2.6.
Steve,
something like that.
Steve, I'm gonna go to you on this one. How could he possibly come back to him with any kind of offer, considering they're already $3 million over the cap?
Well, I guess the best thing you can think in this situation is rosters don't have to be set till, I believe, the 3rd of October. So you could still sign as many players as you want as long as you're under the cap hit, which is $75 million, I'm pretty sure now, for this season, which is a $2 million increase over last season, so that gives them a little bit of space. But I think we're already tapped, to be honest with you. And it just goes to show you that Ken Holland, I think, has overgrown his role in the cap era. At the first few years in the cap era, I think he did a pretty good job. But now he's just it's not even in the same league anymore with making these decisions because, next year, we'll just look ahead a little bit. We have Anthony Mantha, Dylan Larkin, and our goaltender. Sorry.
Peter Mrazek.
Peter Mrazek, thank you. They are all RFAs and due contracts, and 2 of those are after their ELCs, so they're definitely going to need to get. They're gonna request some high money. Mantha and them especially, I think, are definitely going to be maybe $3-4 million players if Anthony Mantha comes out and has a really good season. I think Dylan Larkin is token to probably make hell money, which is about $4 million. So you got to look at that. We're going to get rid of Mike Green off the pace. That's $6 million, but that's still not enough to sign all 3 of those guys, and then whoever else you might want to take to improve the team. So I think if you're Andreas Athanasiou, you probably try to take that deal, but the longer you hold out, the worse it hurts him because other teams are going to see that. They're not going to want to sign a guy who's like 2 years into his thing and holding out. A lot of teams generally don't do that. I mean, there's some special talents that, Drouin's case, that really worked out for him in his favor. I mean, he came out, got traded, and made like a huge contract in Montreal. But I don't think those are the same types of players. So I don't think he can get away with that.
No, I think Athanasiou is what I think we're going to call Red Wings good. I mean, he's a great player. I'm not saying he's not a top 6 forward on most teams, but he's not a top 3 forward on almost any team. I mean, he's definitely a good player, but he is not great. I think he is a $2 to $3 million, maybe $4 million if you get some off the cap kind of player. Well, by the standard set by this team, he's like a $9 million player, but by the standard set by the NHL, he's like a 3.75 to 4.25, somewhere in that territory. The 5 to 6 year length. You give him a good contract. You say you're going to stay here, and you kind of just tuck him away on your second and third line whenever you need him. He's kind of like that, like an Alexander Burrows type. Like he fits that role, like third line, top tier center. At least to me, he'd be like a top 5 third line guy, if that makes sense. Justin, you look like you're itching to talk.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, if you look at, and I know sample size is key here and ice time and all that, but his 5v5 G60 or whatever that stat is, the one where it shows how efficient he is given the ice time he is, he's still number 1. And yeah. I know, like I said, we've got small sample size here. I think he's got more talent than you're giving him credit for being a third liner. I definitely think that even in his best, remember he's only 22 yet, so he's still, he's still developing into his self, his on ice, persona, so to speak. And I think that, oh my goodness, lost my train of thought for a second. I think that he definitely commands, a second line spot for moving forward. He just needs a team and management to believe in him, which and yes, I agree with Steve. He's not really helping himself by doing this right now, but I think ultimately he'll be a good player in the future.
I legitimately hope you're right. Let's talk about somebody that I know that we're all right about, and I made this call last year, and I hate that I have to follow up on it, but I said, and I stand by it, if Nick Kronwall is still on this team next year, I'm going to switch from I feel bad for him to I hate him, and I'm going to be honest with you, here we are, I hate Nick Kronwall. I'm really sick and tired of him. I'm sick of seeing that on the roster. I'm sick of seeing that A next to his name. I just need him to retire. I need him to admit that his time has come and gone, and it's okay. You're 36 years old. Retire while you're still able to walk, and you get to leave with an assload of money, and that's fine. A lot of players do it. That's totally okay. You made $4 million, almost $5 million for like 10 years. It's not like you were on a $1 million contract for the first half of your career. You've been making primo money for the better part of a decade, if not longer now, and all you're doing right now is hindering your team, and it's now switched to being beyond obvious. Steve, am I holding you back on that one? You seem to laugh. You seem to have a little bit to say on this one.
No, I think it's really interesting too, because you take the principles of how retirement works with cap hits. His money's still going to be there, so it's just kind of like you might as well play the guy.
No, he signed that contract before he was 35, so it would fall off.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's only it's only if you signed it after you were 35.
I thought it was if you sign it before 35, the cap hit stays.
No,
after you sign it after 35, it drops.
No, it's reverse of that. If you sign the contract after you're 35, and then you retire, the cap hit stays. That's why Datsuk would have stayed.
Oh,
so,
okay. My bad. Misunderstanding.
No, you're good. You're good. But because he signed it before he was 35, that means his $4.75 million, which would be way more than enough to resolve our Athanasiou problems, or the fact that our defense is full of a bunch of guys whose age starts with a 3 and ends with a number higher than a 2, it would solve a lot of this team's problems, but he just won't do it. Is it pride? Is it hubris? I mean, what makes him want to come back? It can't just be money. If it is just money, I went from hating him to really hating him and being sick and tired of him. I'm holding both of you guys back on this one.
I don't think it's money. I just think it's the Zetterberg effect. Zetterberg over the summer basically came out and said, "Yeah, I'm probably going to leave after the 2018 season, and there's nothing you're going to do about it." It's like the same situation. He's just here. He knows he can be here. He's going to play. Why not?
Goalieman.
I think he needs to be allergic to his equipment.
That he needs to suddenly develop an allergy. Poor host. Yeah, poor host. As far as we know.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but you all know how I feel about that situation. And Chicago's been cheating the cap for years.
I agree a little bit. I'm not opposed.
They're not the only ones who cheat the cap.
Yeah.
Oh no, I just hate Chicago.
No,
there,
I
said it.
And by the way, next year, Steve, the total available funds to sign Peter Mrazek, Ryan Sproul, Anthony Mantha, Dylan Larkin, and Riley Sheehan will be $12.8 million. Well,
2 of those players can take a big fat leave.
I'm going to guess that Mantha's probably gone, and you'll probably get Larkin knowing this team, they'll probably get Larkin for 5 years.
Wait, you just said Anthony Mantha would leave? How can he? He's a restricted free agent. He can't go
RFAs
anywhere.
don't leave.
I'm sorry, he'll hold out. He'll be screwed over, basically. That's my guess. And then Larkin will get like 5.1 for 5 years, or 5.1 per for 5 years, so 25.5 mil, because they love him.
Wow.
They love him. He's a moneymaker for him.
That's not saying he's worth it. Discount.
I'm not saying he's worth it. I'm just saying that's what he'll get. He'll get that Abdelkader check, and then Ryan Sproul will probably get 1.2, and Peter Mrazek will get $74 million a year. I mean, just going off the natural progression of Detroit contracts, right? So his entry-level contract was $4 million. Therefore, his next contract has to be 240,000 times that. So it's going to be $74 million a year for 28 years.
He is the Detroit Red Wings cap hit.
Yeah. Justin?
No, this you already know this organization doesn't like Mrazek. Come on. He gone.
They don't like it, but they gave him $4 million. So my guess is...
Well, the only way they're getting rid of him is if they trade him.
My guess is, because he'll be an RFA, just a 26-year-old RFA.
He'll still be RFA?
Yeah.
Yep. Entry level
deal. He won't be UFA?
Nope.
No,
RFA
contract.
RFA arbitration eligible.
So the RFA lasts until how old?
Until it's not age. It's based on your entry level contract. It's the end of your entry level contract.
This is not his entry level contract, though.
It's a negotiation upon his entry level contract. He's in his third year after they renegotiated in the middle of his ELC.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still technically in his ELC. They just extended it and upped the value.
Oh, that's a joke.
Yeah, no shit. Welcome to the podcast, Justin, where we discussed a joke of a team who is currently playing the Pittsburgh Penguins as of time of this recording, and I can't be bothered to tell you the score because I don't care. Not because of the team, but because it's preseason. Even the NHL doesn't track stats on this one. No offense to any listeners who are dying for them preseason stats. I don't care. I don't think anyone on this show cares. It's completely irrelevant. You know, it's there. Even the team doesn't care because they put name patches on instead of name letters. You don't even get your name sewn onto your jersey yet. We're just gonna hot glue it to the back and figure out what happens. And don't worry, if you're a rookie who happens to not have light skin, you're going back to the juniors. Bye Giovanni Smith.
Wow, we went there. Hello.
Well, do you notice who was the first one gone before they even played a game?
Yeah.
Let's not mince words. Let's not mince words. This team is. Go ahead, Just.
I heard that he was injured.
Then why would they even send him down? Why not just hold him?
Why hold a roster spot if you know he's not going to play?
I have not heard he's injured. I haven't seen he's injured.
Giovanni Smith?
Yeah.
No, I think that was. From certain media people that I follow, they said that he might be injured, and still, point is the kid's 19. He's not ready to play yet, so they're not going to send him down. They're not going to keep him because they're going to send him down.
That's true. Riley Shan's 25, and he's not ready to play yet. So I don't know. But, it's hard. It is so hard to look at this roster. Like that's the thing. I got so hyped to do this. I was so excited. We little peek behind the curtain for the listener. We were gonna record last week. And, stuff came up, life changed, little bit of insight into our goings-ons. I got a job transfer, so that became hectic. And here we are recording this week. I was so excited to record. And then, I was like, hey, Steve, before we record, I'm going to look at Cap Friendly. And that's all I've been staring at. My mouth hasn't closed because it just doesn't register with me looking at these numbers. Like, it actually physically hurts me. Because
financially makes no sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't. You're looking at like Gus Nyquist, $4.75 million. Franz Nielsen, $5.25. Although that one was fine. Thomas Tatar, 5.3. Henrik Zetterberg, 6.1. Justin the one. That was not clearing my throat. That was me holding myself back from being triggered. Justin Abdelkader, $4.25 million for the next forever. Johan Franzen still on this roster. I know he's on IR Plus, but just seeing the fact that I know it doesn't go against our cap, but knowing that he's getting $4 million to stay at home for some reason really bothers me.
He is the Joffrey Lupul of the Red Wings.
If you want more information on that story, check us out on Fucking Around. Going down that list, Darren Helm, $3.85 million. Why? And then I go into defense, and it's Mike Green. Fine, $6 million. I'm okay with that one. Danny DeKaiser, $5 million. A guy I defended for the entire first half of last season. With his performance last season, I can't defend him anymore. He's now on a show me in my mind, he's on a show me deal this year. Even though he's not, he's signed forever. Why does he have to try? But after what I saw last year and what I tried to defend for most of last year on this show against somebody who was on our network who isn't anymore, I'm a podcast host. I don't have words. How am I supposed to defend a guy who, he can't score? He's not good at backskating anymore. He seems to have lost his edge. And then you go one more step down. Oh, there's Nick Cromwell again, reminding you that, hey, I'm still here, guys. And don't worry, this team thinks I'm a leader, so I got an A. And then right below him is Jonathan Erickson, who we know to be a little bit injured right now, sitting on $4.25 million. Oh, and their big offseason acquisition, Trevor Daley, $3.2 million. What a good deal that was. And I'm right back to this point again, where I don't have words, and I have to lean on my co-hosts to fill in some of these blanks, and maybe give our listeners anything. You know what? Here's the challenge. First to speak has to actually prove their point. Give me something positive to look forward to this season. Go.
Okay, you ready? After this season, well, you've got Green $6 million coming off the book. You've only got after this season, you've only got one more year of Nicholas Cronwall's cap hit, and 2 more years of Jonathan Erickson's cap hit. If he does manage to do something with Athanasiou here, there's obviously going to be a move that needs to be made, and hopefully it's waving goodbye to someone like Jonathan Ericsson or Nicholas Cronwall.
Justin
On the
Abdicator.
bright side, I'm actually okay with the daily money. I mean, it's $3 million for a okay defenseman. Yeah, he's a little older, but he's okay. He'll serve his purpose. I mean, it's better than DeKaiser at $5 million, right?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's true.
Right?
Yeah, all right. Franchise, did you have any answer to that?
I was gonna say I've been okay with the daily money because what I've watched him do with the Pittsburgh Penguins last 2 years and the year before that with the Chicago Blackhawks, he's just been a consistent blue line presence. He's played really well. He's a guy you could throw out on the power play, which for Detroit desperately needed some offense on the power play. They needed something to get jump started. So that's kind of another guy you could throw back there. I mean, I kind of like it a little bit less because you still have Cronwall on the books. If you didn't have Cronwall's on the book, like that daily looks like a steal deal. But then it's like you still have all these defensemen that make a lot of money, and then that means guys like, Nick Jensen, Ryan Sproul don't get playing time probably because who's going to be your sixth defenseman? It's probably going to be Xavier Ouellet, right? There you go. There's your top six. Ouellet, Daly, Jonathan Erickson, Nick Cronwall, Danny DeKeyser, Mike Green. That's probably your top six.
Yeah.
And it's like, instead of bringing in Daly, maybe you could have played a guy that they've been throwing out all year last year to play, and they were like super happy with. But instead, they signed a 34-year-old. It's that Red Wings syndrome. It's like they have a prospect they could use, but instead they signed somebody else.
In fact, I'm not convinced that it's that Red Wing syndrome. I think it's the Ken Holland syndrome. He just wants he wants to sell you that this team is a playoff team so hard that he had to bring in Daly, and it's because of the new arena. If they were still in the Joe, and Ken Holland was like on his way out, I don't think that they would have made that move would have happened. But he needs to sell people, the masses out there who aren't like us, who still think that this team could possibly contend for a playoff spot, that this team can make the playoffs so that they can sell tickets in this new arena. And it's at this point in with the rebuild or the retool, whatever you want to call it, that signing should have never been made. They should have found a way to get rid of DeKeyser, maybe not DeKeyser, but not giving him so much money. Cronwall, Erickson, see ya. Helm, see ya. Abdicator, I'd be fine with him at $3 million, not $4.5. I mean, there's so many problems with the cap right now, and we're looking at some dark times ahead, folks.
Did I just hear you say you'd be okay with Abdicator at $3 million?
Maybe
better than his 4.25. That's still a subtraction.
But no, that's not what I'm asking. Because obviously, but you'd be okay with him at $3 million. You'd be okay with Justin Abdicator at $3 million. $3 million.
No. Okay, I lied.
Okay, I want to make sure. I have to clarify.
Datsuk made Justin Abdicator's contract. He'd be okay at $2 million.
That's more.
He's a slightly more offensive version of Luke Glendening.
I guess 64 games played last year, 7 goals, 14 assists, 50 penalty minutes. That's like a $1.3 million player in my head. Numbers like that, there's no. I'm sorry. That's the thing. I draw the line. There's no excuse for that. When you are making $4 million, you need to be better than a 20-point player.
Let me tell you something about the Illich organization.
All right, I'm all ears.
There's one word. You ready for it? Loyalty. All you have to do is exist as a player, as a person, as anything in this organization, and you get rewarded for it. Just like they just hired Dan Cleary as some sort of player development nonsense. Like, get out of here. It's the loyalty. It's all it is loyalty. They don't make smart decisions. They make decisions based on, hey, you did really great for us for so long, or you did really mediocre for us for so long, so here you go, have a job.
It also helps if you were drafted by that team, and if you want even more money, if you happen to be from that state. If you meet all three of those criteria, you get a $4.8 million contract. Welcome to the Red Wings. And how's your dog treating you over there?
Come here.
We're hearing all of this. So if you meet all three of those criteria,
I hit that mute button. I'm sorry.
You're okay. It's okay. This This is our learning process for our new style of recording. Our listeners will appreciate the increase in audio quality. They won't care about your dog, trust me. But if you meet all three of those criteria, if you were drafted by the Red Wings, if you happen to exist on the Red Wings, and you happen to be from the state of Michigan, you're borderline guaranteed a $3.7 million contract plus, so long as you can exist on this team. Darren Helm, Danny DeKeyser, and Justin Abdelkader, all from the state of Michigan. None of them have performed up to even $3 million a year contracts. I'm sorry. Justin.
Darren Helm.
I didn't mean to.
I'm pretty sure Darren Helm.
I didn't mean to. I was reading a different name. I don't know which one. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to read Dylan Larkin because he will get that boost. Justin Abdelkader and Danny DeKeyser, both of which would be on any other team, $2.1 million players. Steve, is that fair to say?
I would say in the $2 million range, yeah, probably at best.
DeKeyser might be a $3.5 million because he's a good minutes eater. You know, so you got Danny DeKeyser making $5 million because he meets all three of those criteria that we laid out, and Justin Abdelkader because he's got grit. He's got grit, bro. He's got so much grit. There it is,
episode 1.
He's got grit, bro. Because that's what it is.
Episode 1.
Episode 1. Welcome back. He's got grit, bro. Because that's what it is. It doesn't matter if you have skill or talent or value or worth to this team, just so long as you were in fact drafted by us and you followed all the rules.
Oh, just look at the draft strategy. You want to talk about that word grit?
Go ahead.
They took everybody that they took in the draft this year was like 6'2" or better. Like, oh, grit. All of the grit.
It's almost like and Steve.
While the NHL is getting smaller,
I was just gonna say, Steve. I know you've
right.
I know you've been to games in the last 2 years, correct, Steve? Okay.
Yes.
It's almost as if, and tell me if you didn't have the same experience. It's almost as if they've mic'd up the Joe, because what you hear at the Joe when you go to those games, you'd hear, oh man, they need to get a big defenseman. They need to get a big winger. They need to get Go ahead.
If I had $1 for every time somebody said that to me, I would probably be able to buy the Red Wings and fire Ken Holland myself.
I'm pretty sure that their strategy is give the fans what they want. So they put a microphone under each seat, and what they came out of it was they got a bunch of big guys and a bunch of farts. And that's exactly what they got. It's just farts and big guys. Abdelkader, who's, I guess, big, but also mostly a fart. And then they drafted who in the first round?
Rasmussen,
who's a big fart. Like,
I think Rasmussen could be good. He could be okay, but I don't think it's going to be that. That was a pick I was hoping to see them take a defenseman instead there that had puck moving ability and could shoot. It was a Swedish guy. I think it was Tordenson, and I'm like, he's available. They should take him. And everybody's thinking like another Swedish defenseman. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is like the new Erik Karlsson. Like, that's a guy we could use, a guy who could actually score on the blue line. But then they take a guy who is rated as a center with one of the worst skating abilities in the draft.
Like, why? But if you ask everybody in the organization, his skating is not that bad. They don't see what the pundits see.
He's got grit, bro. He's got grit.
Yeah, grit while everybody's skating around you.
He's a giant man.
Yeah, and not everybody can be Anthony Mantha, where Anthony Mantha actually has a ton of speed and is a huge man. Like, you literally got lucky. Don't try to replicate it. Go ahead, Steve.
And wait till Anthony Mantha actually gets some size on him, like out of the kid phase. Wait till he gets to, like they say, the man phase, where he puts on some weight. He could be like a new Ryan Getzlaf. Like, he could be that kind of player.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be
like that size.
I'm sure he'll be that on the Anaheim Ducks when he doesn't sign here next year. Like, that's what's important to remember. Like, that's the thing that I really want to harp for our listeners. Like, I don't think you guys understand the consequences of these actions. Like, all you see, like, when you look on their Instagram, or you follow them on Twitter, you buy in any of the Red Wings marketing machine, and if you listen to our show, God knows you do. I do. I'm on their Instagram. I follow them on Twitter. I like the updates, but I also hate the fact that I have to see, up 21's lacing him up, up 40's lacing him up, here goes number 8 onto the ice. Like, if you know hockey at all, if you have any grasp of how this game works, and not to mention where it's going in the NHL specifically, where guys like Johnny Gaudreau are now priced at a premium, or Jonathan Duran becomes a top-tier player, or Athanasiou is rated by everyone except for the Red Wings as a top-tier player. there's a commonality in all these guys. They're small, they're stupid fast, and they have really good puck handling skills. And the big behemoths of the old, the Joe Thorntons, the Ryan Getzlavs, the Corey Perrys, there's a reason those guys are all 35 and up, because that doesn't really exist in the NHL anymore. And when it does, those guys are delegated to like second line minutes or third line minutes. Like Malkin was a diamond in the rough and a rarity. Malkin is not to be a template. Getzlav is not to be a template. These are exceptions to the rule, and these are exceptions to the trend, which is, if you literally look at a chart, the NHL is getting shorter and faster because the game is getting smarter and quicker. The game is getting rid of the big guys, and there is no more evident. There's no more obvious evidence of Ken Holland's resistance to evolving, other than the fact, no more obvious thing than who he's drafting and who he's paying. If you're over 6 foot tall and you don't do anything to score, you're going to get money, and I don't understand it. It's gone to the point where when I record an episode like this, when I'm starting to prep for an episode like this, I'll sit down before the show and I'm like, okay, let's look up some stats. No, wait, I don't need to. This team's horrible. There's no reason for me to pull up any information to give to you guys, because anything I would be giving you, anything Steve would be giving you, anything Justin would be giving you, that is not the truth, which is this team is going to be bad for the foreseeable future, is a lie. Anything else past that is a lie. Justin, go ahead.
I just want to piggyback on that and say this team doesn't care about offensive ability, just as long as you're in the right position in the defensive zone. That's all that they care about. This is why Athanasiou doesn't get more than 13 minutes a game. This is why you draft nothing but quote unquote two-way players that have essentially no offensive ability, but man, they'll be all right in the defensive zone, and it just doesn't translate to winning.
And I want to piggyback on you by saying this team doesn't care about you. This team doesn't care about Steve. This team doesn't care about Justin. This team doesn't care about me. This team doesn't care about you listening. This team doesn't care about who goes, so long as only you go. That is all they care about. If you want to see this team win, if you want to see this team succeed, if you want to see more Stanley Cups, if you want to see more playoff runs, that's great. Go screw, because we do not care. All we care about is that you follow the machine, you put in your money, and you come buy some pop at Little Caesars Arena at $9 a cup and buy your seats, because they're going fast, and that's all we want is your money. Like, that's the thing about what this team was in the 90s and the 2000s all the way up to 2008, was they were a team that seemed to actually know that their viewership was hockey smart. Much like Toronto, much like Montreal. Toronto went through some down years, but they were always elite. Like they didn't have a lot of, like, it was so. Steve, tell me if I'm right on this one, and feel free to jump in. It was so rare for Toronto to have bad contracts that when they did, they became national headlines in the hockey world. Like, they had maybe 5 to 7. Detroit this year alone has 5 to 7. Is that fair to say that Toronto, like, they made mostly good contracts, so when you saw a bad one, like Joffrey Lupul, where we'll talk about him, it becomes a story.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of those situations when it happened, the GM lasted maybe another month or two after that deal happened. Like, management was like, or, ownership was like, see ya, we need to be better. And I think that's just testament of, I don't know a GM who's ever lasted that long in one spot.
And that's the other,
in any professional sport. I don't think I can name one off the top of my head that's lasted 20 years.
And that's the other thing that I want to add to it, and you named it. You made a good point there. This team, the benefit that the Red Wings have is that they're in Detroit. Okay, so if you live here and you watch sports here, you know two things. Number one, the Lions will always be bad, and number two, the Red Wings will always be good. That's the way you think. So the Red Wings get probably, I want to say, another 3 to 6 years before anybody's going to wake up and realize they're bad. Like, they're going to have bad years for the next 5 years. I'm not denying that at all. I'm championing that. But I think that this town's commitment to a team like the Lions, based on no return. Now you compare that to a team like the Red Wings, who's given them 4 championships, they're going to keep going. Go ahead, Justin.
Football is king, though. You can't make that comparison.
Yes, I can. Look at
Football is always going to sell out no matter what city it's in because football is king in this country.
That's not true. Look at LA, look at Cleveland, look at Cincinnati. People aren't going to football anymore when they lose. Go look at the LA numbers from last week.
Okay. Let me preface that by saying that with the way that the NFL is being run now, with the head injuries and all the conspiracies and all that stuff, football might be coming back down a little bit because of all that. But as far as up until this point, when was the last time you weren't allowed to you weren't able to watch a Lions game on TV because it was blacked out because they didn't sell out? My point is that football is king in this country. And things might be changing now because of the Kaepernicks and everything that's going on with all that. But that was my point. Sorry, continue.
The point I'm making is that this team, the Red Wings, they set the bar. They gave you your Christmas present early. So if you're going to be let down until March, let's take this as a metaphor. You're a kid who's getting toys because that's what sports is us playing with our toys. They gave you your Christmas present in November. So you don't care that you're not going to get any toys in December. You don't care that you're not going to get any toys on your birthday in January or Valentine's Day in February or Easter in April because you got your Christmas present early. And they know they can stretch that out. And they know that they know that you, the fan, and I say this with all respect to your intelligence, I assume that maybe you love the team and maybe you see this like we do because you're listening to a podcast about it. But I think that the majority of people, and this is based on my experiences, I've met 4,000 people in the last 2 years because of my job. And anybody I know that likes hockey says the Red Wings are a top-tier team in this league. And they believe it. And that's the thing. Steve, that face, that's me at work. Like I put my hand on my mouth like, explain. Please explain to me what you mean. Because I don't know what they mean anymore. Because somebody who has the team's logo carved into my flesh and spends hours a week prepping for, recording, and editing a podcast about them, have no desire to watch them this year. It's really hard for me to get excited for a regular season game with a team that I know because I know hockey is going to be bad. Steve, did I hold you back on that one? I apologize.
No, that's like the hardest part of this season. It's like last season there was a little bit of hope. You're like, okay, we'll see what they do without Datsuk. We got some new guys around. Like, let's see what happens. We had the goalie controversy, which we kind of haven't really talked about how well I think the goaltending was last year compared to negative and positive things. Our goaltending was pretty phenomenal last year and kept us out of Arizona and Colorado territory bad. Like, we're just gonna say that out loud. I'm committing to that because I would
have rather been there.
That's what I mean. But then you think about management and what they would do with that spot. It's not worth it. Because they're not going to take the piece that you needed or that every scout in the NHL would have taken.
So what you're trying to say is that given the first overall pick, they probably still would have taken Rasmussen instead of Nolan Patrick or Nico Hirsch.
Oh, don't worry, Nolan
I
Patrick.
don't think they would.
No, Justin, don't worry. Nolan Patrick's a huge guy. They would have taken him.
I mean, I wouldn't be happy
Fair
with
enough.
Nolan Patrick because Nolan Patrick is I think he's going to be a good player. But in the 1 year that they could have been bad and they would have been bad would have been the weakest draft. That would have made sense. That would have just made sense, like thinking about it. But it's hard to sit here and listeners are probably like, well, why would I want to listen to them just complain about them for half hour? But at the same time, there are some positives, and it's like we have to find a way to be positive in some way about some minor aspects of the team. But am I going to be watching 60 minutes of every game that I pay my NHL package for? No. A lot of these nights I'm going to be condensed highlights. They're going to be other teams I'm going to want to watch more.
Yeah, no, actually, that's that. And you know what? You hit on a point that I want to reiterate and I want to add to, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Number one, we are not going to be a podcast that just comes on here and we can go, why aren't they winning? I'm purging my cynical thoughts at you right now to try my damnedest to give you guys a happy-ish podcast every week. I'm going to try my absolute hardest to give you guys a podcast that gives you hope for this team, or at least at the minimum I'll just be objective and say this is what happened. But I have to have a show like this where I tell you I tell you that this is what it's going to be. It's going to be a season where you're going to lose probably 45 to 52 games. I mean, that's the reality of the world. You don't have a roster that stacks up to most NHL teams, and you don't have it bad enough to be a 60 or a 65 loss team. You're not Colorado, admittedly, but you're also not even like a Florida. You're not a Carolina. Those are better teams with futures. You're not them. So when I say that I'm not going to try to be cynical every week, I mean that. But I also, just like Steve, and you nailed it right on the head. I'm going to be watching mostly condensed games. I used to go out of my way to okay, I've got to get an extra Wi-Fi thing to bring to work so I can pocket stream the game, and I can check in, and I can have a Bluetooth going, and I can just listen and watch whenever I can. This year, none of that. I'm not spending any extra money to have any Wi-Fi streaming when I'm at work. I'm just going to watch these games right before I fall asleep, and then I'll be fine with it. And that's that. I'll watch a condensed version with all the little NHL graphics, and that's okay because it's, for me, bang for my buck, bang for my time, and my time is valuable. This team doesn't deserve my time. When you lose 4-2 in the preseason against the Bruins, and I know right now they're going to lose to the Penguins, and if they do win, it'll be because the Penguins literally put their janitorial staff on the ice and said, "Screw it, who cares? We won the cup."
They put 5 Phil Kessels out there with donuts on their mouths.
They would win.
Did you? Speaking of Phil Kessel, did you guys see the photo around the internet that was going around with him and the Stanley Cup and the hot dogs or the burgers or whatever it was?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Everything photoshopped into the photo.
That was so great.
Yeah, my favorite picture of the summer. Justin, I will send it to you later. I sent it to you, Steve, and it was a picture. It was on the golf course. The picture is framed. It says a good picture of Malkin, Crosby, and Kessel. And on the left side of the picture is Malkin, the middle of the picture is Crosby, and the right side is a little sliver, and it's just Kessel's gut. And it's perfect. That's exactly what it's supposed to be.
That's amazing.
This has been a fun offseason. There's been a lot of moves. We'll talk about those over on Pucking Around. But, the Red Wings, say if you want to count the Phil Kessel deal, the Trevor Daley deal is a good one. I won't fault you for it. It's in the Franz Nielsen territory. It makes sense for most teams. I don't think it made sense for this team, and I think that if I had to grade it, and we'll end on that note, we'll give you guys each a grade. I'll let each of you guys grade the offseason. For me, it's an incomplete. It's like it's like they left school halfway through the semester. Like if I was grading them on an A to F, they get an I, and they have to retake the offseason because it was that bad. Steve, you first.
I was going to say, it really hinges on the Anthony Ciu thing. If they hit this and they actually get it done, I would say a solid D+.
That's a D+. Wow.
But if they don't get the Anthony Ciu deal done, that's a definite D-.
Welcome back, franchise. Justin, where do you grade it?
I think Steve hit the nail on the head. However, even if they do sign Athanasiou, they have to do something with the cap to get him to play. So I think it would definitely depend on who they got rid of or magically made disappear from the cap that would affect my grade. So I think I'm going to go with you there. It's incomplete because it hasn't been finished. It's been so bad you can't give it a grade, but it's also unfinished, so it's incomplete. So I just wanted to touch for a second back on what you were saying about Ken Holland and his tenure as GM here has been so long. It goes back to what I said, loyalty. The Ilitch family is so loyal, it's unbelievable. Why does Brad Ausmus still have a job? I know this isn't the podcast for that, but why does Brad Ausmus still have a job? Why does Ken Holland still have a job? Oh, it's because they're loyal. They're loyal to their employees.
And final around the horn really quickly, give me your prediction for wins. I'm going to say 32, Steve.
40.
Justin.
41.
Ooh, Price is Right rules.
The Price is Right.
I hope they win 40.5 games. Subscribe to us on iTunes. If you're not into iTunes, you can check us out on TuneIn Radio. We're also on Podbean, Stitcher, and Facebook. You can follow the brand on Twitter at SportsRadioDET. You can follow this show on Twitter. Hopefully one of us will get that going at STW_SRD. Check out our website at sportsradiodetroit.com. Thank you, and we'll see you guys next week.